Good evening, short story writers. I don't think I need this one in. The microphone's here. Um, Welcome. I took 2 days break because, well, I was involved in other things for friends, and it took time. So there really wasn't time to have a think about this. So NaNoWriMo is still with us, and I still think that even if you don't want to aim for a novel length work, 50 or 60,000 words, it's good discipline at this time of year to just get, especially with all the lockdowns going on. There's a lot of excitement going on in various parts of the world as well. But they themselves, if you want to draw your inspiration for short stories from those events, turn them into problems for a main character, and then describe how the main character overcomes those problems. However, I'm staying with the kind of the Halloweeny sort of theme. I gave you a series of ideas which would make for linked or interconnected short stories to start at point A and get to point, I guess it would be point Z, rather than B. So you got an episodic novel. Another way of doing this would be to take a theme. In this case, it's going to be ghosts. And if you're writing literary fiction, stay with me, because it's perfectly possible to write a ghost story, as Charles Dickens did several times. And he is the de facto premier English language novelist of Victorian England. So stay with me and I'll explain how it's done. But one thing that I think it's in 1308 by Stephen King, and the main character in that is writing a series of stories which are meant to be fictional, literary non-fictional accounts of his stay in, or his stays in, I think 13 supposedly haunted hotels, and in this particular case, the 1308, it's not at the Overlook of The Shining, it's at a different hotel, and supernatural things happen. And I thought, I began writing a series of short stories based on that, called In the Footsteps of Stephen King. And the idea was that the main character was staying in various places that Stephen King had stayed, on the basis that he was hoping that he could gain some insight into the minds and workings and inspirations, i.e. the muse of Stephen King. And of course, in my particular short story, stories, I wrote 3, weird things happened to the main character. So that would be one way of approaching it. You could say somebody else has done this as well with Jack Reacher. There's a lady who has written a whole series of novels which take their inspiration from the Jack Reacher novels, and her characters turn up after Reacher has gone for the purposes of trying to track him down. I think that he's needed by the FBI or something. So who is your writing hero, and what have they produced which you could possibly write a series of short stories based on their collection of works? So, for example, let's take Philip Marlowe. And who wrote Philip Marlowe? Goodness me. Oh, this is terrible, I should know. Anyway, the Philip Marlowe character. Your short stories could be from the point of view of somebody who Philip Marlowe calls up to authenticate documents or whatever, and that person has their own little run-ins with the law, with shady characters. It could be a detective cleaning up after Marlowe, and if it's a literary, the kind of the human fallout of all the murders that happen in Philip Marlowe novels. Trying to think of the author's name. This is terrible. I really should know. Anyway, there's the history of the Maltese Falcon. It's alluded to by Caspar Gutman that it's had a very colourful history, and you could take any of the episodes or all of the episodes from the time that it was being forged and made as the tribute to the King of Spain, until its reappearance and disappearance in San Francisco in I think it's the late 1930s. It's supposed to take place, the Maltese Falcon. There's quite a lot, but start with somebody that you admire, somebody whose works you like, and find some sort of thread and ask yourself how you could write a series of stories which tie in with maybe a recurring theme that they have. Because one good thing about this, it will give your stories a little bit of instant recognizability. You will be automatically appealing to readers who are fans of that particular author. The lady who should be better prepared, I suppose, and say her name. But you can find her on Amazon anyway. It's called In Search of Jack Reacher. And anybody who likes Jack Reacher and Lee Child's work knows about this. And Lee Child himself has endorsed her work. He says it's pretty good stuff. He likes it. So, I did mention the ghost. We'll come back to the ghosts tomorrow. We're going to run out of time fairly soon, but this is something it's another way of writing a series of linked short stories, but this time with kind of an overarching theme which you borrowed. You could do it with Shakespeare plays. You could do it as somebody who's an actor and he's going through, or she's going through, all of the Shakespeare plays and all of the... In fact, it could be subverted. It could be a company where all the male parts are played by females, and vice versa, in a kind of a semi-homage to the way that the players worked in Shakespeare's time. There's a lot to be explored there. Okay, we're nearly at 8 minutes, so I will say happy writing and good night.